Okay everybody, let's go back and create our first component, the one which you are planning now. So remember, one important thing here is when you work on an Angular application, components are very essential factor. App component, which you can see, it is by default available to you. This is an HTML, okay, which your name is called welcome to Angular. This component is associated with your TS by giving the name called template URL. And the style URL is nothing but the CSS part, which is also bringing some styles related factors to your web pages. Okay, so in case if you want to change some styles, as I can see in my HTML, we have a called paragraph tag. So in my CSS, if I go and write color, okay, or else if I just say P and after that if I say color colon, if I say blue, so what would happen? The style will be automatically applied. You will see here the style is automatically applied here because this CSS is now applied to your HTML through this TS file. Okay, that's something which your component is all about. And remember one thing, every single component which you created, it does associated with your app module. You can see there's an app module available here. In this app module, we have got this component with me. You see this, by default this component is available here. So every single component what you create, it just get attached to what, to certain modules. So for me it is attached to what, to the app module. So this component whichever we have created, so this is associated with your module here, and I'm putting under the declaration. So remember, under the declarations tag we have got all components are available. I'm saying components declared here. This is the place where you declare the component. Import section is the place where you declare your all modules. Here is the provider where you define all your services. Okay, and bootstrap is the position where you define the welcome component. So for me the welcome component name is called what, app component. That's what you are able to see this now. So every single component what you created is by default a part of your app module system. Okay, so this is how it works. Now let's go back and create our first component into my application. So to create a new component, what I'll be doing it now, under my app folder, I would like to create a new component here. So I'm creating a new folder. I'm going to give the name called main app, and under this main app I'm going to create a new file name called app.ts. I'm going to say app.component.html, and I'm creating one more called app.component.css. so total number of 3 components we have to create. Okay, now here after this app component, from this file onwards I would like to start. So to create this particular details here, I have to use export class main app. Okay, I can better change the name of my component. Rather than app, I can rename it to main app. That will make more sense. Here I'm also giving some name called main app. And this also. Like this. In my TS, I'm defining the name of my class is called main app, and this main app will associate it with annotation called component. You see, it is coming from this Angular core library. I need to define few things. Number 1, selector name. I'm giving the name of the selector, so called main hyphen app. After this, I'm giving the name called template URL, and here main app dot component dot html, and now you have to use style URLs, and here main app dot component dot css. So this is how I'm defining all the details. In my main component.html, I'm giving one simple paragraph saying main app. That's it, nothing more than this. And this particular TS file, whichever we have created, the selector name I'll put it under where? Under my, sorry, not selector name, the class name I'll put it under my module. So under my module, I will go to my declaration stack, because here the component goes, I say main app. You can see the main app automatically appears. This selection automatically comes because of this VS Code editor. And here in Bootstrap I will say main app. Here also you need to define it, and the selector name of my component, which is main app, I'll put it into my HTML. That is very important if you want to show them in a browser. I'm saying main hyphen app. That's it. So this is how we are defining it. Going back to my code, let me refresh. You can see the main app automatically appears. So this is app component and this is the main app component. Both are working absolutely fine. But here, there's a small trick which I would like to use it now. What is happening now according to the use cases? If I open up my diagram, I'll show you the new component which I've added now. Okay, this is this. I've created one more component name called main component, and this component I'm also adding it where? Under my module. So what I will say is ultimately this particular component also, we have a one module. This is my module name called what? And here both the components are getting declared. Okay, so this component is now accessible to where? To my index.html file. Clear? That's the point which I want to avoid it. So what better option I'm looking at it right now, since both the components are declared and both the components are putting under the Bootstrap to make it accessible where? To my main application. I can make it more better. What I can do now, isn't it a better technique, like if I can, rather than declaring it this component under where? Under the index.html file, and as well as where? In a Bootstrap, if I can make this particular component as a child of what? Of this component which is known as called app component. So this will make more sense. So this component name will be app and this component name will be what? Main app. So if I make this component as a child of app, so I do not need to define it under Bootstrap, and also I do not need to define it under where? Under my index.html page. Instead, this selector name, if I define it under my app component.html, are we clear? So automatically the main app will become a parent of, the app component will become a parent of main app. So this will make your application more better. Now if I see, now even my application is working fine. But the better advantage is what? This time my application is now what? The part of your app component, rather than making it both of them as a main parent. So likewise, you can establish the better relationship between the components rather than declaring it every component under where? Under the Bootstrap or index.html file. So here you establish the relationship between these two components. Here you can enforce the reusability, and that's what the main factor why we use this approach. So later on, if you want to communicate between parent and child relationship by sharing this data or the functions, so you can easily do so. So this benefit you can only cater when you establish the relationship, so that you do not need to overload your index.html page or your app.module to get your job done. So it is as simple as there. Now I would like to create few more components into my code. Previously what you have seen, I've created a main app component with using manual way. There is an also options available in which we can create a component using Angular in a far more simple and shortcut way. What's that? But my requirement is, let me tell you, my requirement is I would like to create two more components here. Okay, one component name I would like to give is known called header, and this component name I can give it as a what? Footer. Okay, header and footer, and both of them I want them to be the child of what? Of your main app. That's it. That's the whole requirement I'm having it. So how can I do? Let's go ahead and get it implemented. Here onwards, I'll terminate my server and use the shortcut command called ng space g space c. Remember, the g means generate, c means component, and I will give the component name called header. This will create a new component for me called header, and the same I can use it for creating what? Footer. Now you will see it is automatically creating your header, CSS, HTML and spec and TS, and automatically it is also updating what your app module.ts. That's the beauty here. You see your header and footer, both the folders are automatically ready, and both of them are getting associated with what? With your app module. Inside your app module, you'll see the components are automatically added. What I did it earlier manually, now it is happening automatically for me, because this is what the benefit you get whenever you're using some shortcut commands to attach the components to your application. Okay, so that's a quick benefit. Okay, going ahead, discussing about our next portion now. What next? After adding these components into my code, my next step will be adding it to where? To my main applications. Who should be the parent? So according to my user interface, I want main app should be the parent of header and footer. So I'll open my header component.ts, copy the selector name, declare it under my main app here. Okay, I put it like an app header here. Same thing I'll do for app hyphen, because the same name is available for my footer also. You see the selector name. Okay, and your component is now ready to execute. The moment the selected names are attached, I think the server was stopped. Let me restart it. It will do the necessary bundling and load my application. Let's open up my browser and check. Perfect. You can see header works, footer works. In very simple and straightforward language, I explained you how this component really works. And you see this, there's an additional file automatically getting created along with your application. And what's that? That is a spec.ts file. So just to tell you, this spec.ts file is a unit test cases which automatically getting created by your Angular for you, because what they believe it, with every single file there should be one test cases written. Okay, which we do not want to use it right now, but we will be using it later on. As of now, I'm deleting it both. This will not impact your current running application, and the CSS files which are attached, so you can change the color combination as you want. So under the CSS you can say paragraph color and footer color brown. That's it. So this is how the CSS will be applied. Let's check, and you can easily see the difference. Total number of 4 components are used together, and you can see these are not a proper pages. These are just like a lightweight UI components which we are using it for my regular applications. And that's it. So this is how it makes your development far more flexible.